What I love most is talking to investors that have achieved incredible things, but they don't have a product or a service to sell me at the end of it, right? Like, there are people out there that just love property investing and they've done some incredible things and they've achieved incredible results. They don't need to push or sell anything. And that's exactly what this guy's done. He's not doing he started doing property developments, right? He started growing and learning. Like the first, I'm going to give you some topics that we spoke about, right? One of them was unpaid rates. This guy bought his first property for $18,000 and it was only 10 years ago. It was actually less than 10 years ago. Then there's another one, granny flat subdivisions. Then we've got rooming houses. Then we have, this guy's just kind of evolved, but he's not into these 1 into 10 developments and 1 into 50 developments. He's sticking to the small scale. And I think that this is where it kind of gets exciting for the everyday investor to say, look, you're doing your job. Could you be doing this on the side and starting to build something a little bit more? And the answer is probably yes. This session is awesome. I love this investor conversation. It is literally just a couple of guys having some beers over property, and that's what you get to sit in on here. But it's value throughout the entire thing. We definitely have to get him on more, and I think you're going to love this one. Hey everyone, my name is Joe Tucker, and together with Jeff Miles, we created Oz Property Investors and the Level Up Property Investment course. This thing is ripper. Teaches you how to grow from nothing to an incredible portfolio. But each week we interview top property experts, and tonight is no different. Michael Lin, he's a property developer. He's barely got a Facebook. He created the Facebook page, shares a couple of videos on there, and that's about it. So this is an investor conversation. You're going to love it. Let's dive in.
And we are live on Oz Property Investors. We bring the big names and we have the big fun. Now, how one man did 27 and he's now got 40 in the pipeline, because I actually asked about that, because he said, I said, is that, look at the viewers. Sorry to keep everybody waiting, but we were just having so much fun talking about watching Godfather 2 at 1 or 2 a.m. So how much fun was that? So it's going to be a huge session. We're going to talk about how did he get started? How did Michael get started? And 18.5 grand for his first deal. This wasn't in the 80s. So we'll have to unpack how that all played out. That's exciting. Then we'll look at, well, how did he go into doing 27 developments completed and all that in the pipeline? But just, this is going to be a good old fashioned mindset, investor story, how to build that portfolio, financial freedom, abundance, all that good stuff. So Joe, how you going? Or Michael, sorry, how you going? You're first.
Hey, fellas. Well, happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Mate, thanks for being a part of it. This is going to be a big one. You are very unassuming. You're pretty cruisy. You're pretty chilled out guy, and you've done 27 developments and you've got 40 in the pipeline. But one of the things I like about you is that you don't, I don't know how to, you're not trying to take it to the stratosphere, and you're not trying to build a massive business where you're working a bazillion hours a week. You're just trying to do just trying to live your life. You kind of run the developments by yourself, and you just not all the process. You hire all the contractors and everything. And it's really inspiring. It's really inspiring to see you do these small scale developments that anyone has access to, that anybody can do. So I'm really pumped for this session, mate. It's been a long time coming as well. It's funny when I talk. So Jeff and I, we're building this rooming house, and every time I talk to somebody about rooming house, they're like, yeah, have you spoken to Michael Lin? Have you spoken to Michael? But not that we want, sorry, I feel like I may have invited a few people to reach out to you. But no, I'm pumped for this sesh. How are you, Jeff?
Good. Okay. We just, so you went around circles for about a minute there, but that's good. Good to lead it up. Joe, how you going? What's happening?
Who's going in circles now? You just asked me how I was going before. Jesus Christ.
Well, good.
This is a professional outfit here.
Exactly. So before we introduce our guests, we're going to start doing this at the beginning to make it very easy for everybody. Hope everybody's pumped and excited. Daylight savings in New South Wales and Victoria. Good on us. But this is not financial advice, not taking into account your personal needs or objectives. Seek out professional advice from your brokers and your accountants and financial planners, all that jazz. So now that we've gotten that covered off, we're going to have some fun tonight with this session and talk developing, rooming, subdivisions, and cash flow, massive cash flow. Michael's latest deal, he was saying, is going to net him, or not net him, sorry, gross. Very different thing. 436K. So we'll have to ask you about that at some stage, maybe. So stay tuned. But Michael, before we even get there, you are a one-man property developer. I love chatting to you at the thing because you just Ricky's always buying you beers and he's very generous to those as well. We don't want to make it about that. You've got delivered a wide mix of projects, including subdivisions, new builds, rooming houses as well. The thing about you is you're doing it to give you the flexibility, freedom, and focus on what matters as well, which is family. So first off, though, I want to go back. Let's go back 5, 10. When did you start, Michael?
So I started back in 2015.
Okay.
I guess that's where it really started. Yeah, because I kind of set after education, that's when my real property journey kind of started. So I purchased property before, but it's just, your generic information that your family would give you. Oh, you need to buy a house, or, it should be this, or should be that, or go for brick, don't go for weatherboard. Just the basic stuff. But after several experiences, when I'm like, okay, I'm missing something here. That's when we took the leap to, educate ourselves, and here we are.
As easy as that. So what was it that triggered that? Like, was it the failing of the beginning deals that was like, actually, yeah, this needs to change because I'm not getting anywhere on this?
Well, it's actually because I could see, so my family obviously encouraged me to buy property, as most people in Sydney, their family do. And there were few questions they couldn't answer. And, just asking those questions, they didn't like that I asked those questions. And it got to the point where I realized that maybe they don't actually know. They know less than I thought, right? And no disrespect to my family, of course, that they've done very well for themselves, but they were missing they couldn't answer fundamental questions, and it made me realize they were just buying property and literally they went to an auction and just rock up, never seen it before, and just buy it that day. Like that's what my parents have done in the past. So sure. I realized that there has to be more. There has to be some sort of strategy behind it. There has to be theory. And I'm not an academic person. I'm a bad Asian. I failed school. Like I got like 58 ATAR, UAI, or whatever it is. Didn't even go to uni. But there were just certain fundamental things that was missing in my process, and no one could give that to me, like in my inner circle, my family and friends. So just educate myself, and that's where how we got started and why we got started.
You're originally from New Zealand. When did you come to Australia from New Zealand? Was it pretty young? Or?
I was like 5 or 6. I think I was year 2 or whatever it was. Yeah, so I was born in New Zealand. Yeah,
pretty much an Aussie. But what I was going to say is, so what is it that you then what was the driver? Was it purely, as Joe said, was it to make sure you didn't not stuff it up, but continue to be mediocre at it? Or was it, what made you want to say, okay, look, now's the time to get really serious about this property thing?
I wanted to be more than just doing it because you're supposed to. I wanted to use it to actually build a lifestyle, for myself and my girlfriend at the time, wife now. And that was the primary objective. But as we kind of progressed, it evolved, because how like at the beginning you don't really, you hear about something, you're like, oh yeah, but that's somebody else's journey or whatever. You kind of don't believe it until you kind of walk down that path. But as you kind of incrementally go down that path, your goal starts to, your goals start to expand. Exactly. That's right. Thank you, Joe. So over time, we're reaching a point where, one of our big milestones was we went to Japan for 4 months. We got back at the beginning of this year. We're running the business, we're running all our projects, all that kind of stuff. Sorry, I call it a business, but I call property a business because that's how I think property is a business. We now we're thinking, rather than a once every couple of years, once a lifetime trip of 4 months overseas, how do we make this a yearly thing, so it expands. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And property is so amazing that it gives you that opportunity if you want to. If you it gives you what you put in, basically. It's one of those asset classes which I'm in love with property, very passionate
Yeah.
about it. So yeah.
Well,
You see,
I mean, this is what I find interesting about someone like you, like especially property developers. Like we had a property developer on Carson Bolt a couple of weeks ago, maybe even months ago, and
3 weeks ago. Wasn't that long ago. Less than a month. Yeah.
Okay, a couple of weeks. And the same feeling I got from you, Michael. It was that like I've got to work a job. I've got to go to university. I've got to work 9 to 5. I've got to do that. And I feel like some people like stop and ask the question. And the most successful property developers that I see just keep asking the question, well, is that actually going to get me where I want to go? And then you look at the property space and you look at the opportunities that you're able to create. And you're like, well, actually, I just made my salary on one deal. What happens if I did that what if I did 2 deals a year? Is that even possible? And people just stop there. But I feel that you go to that next level and then do the research and do the education and then actually do the deal. And then you're like, shit, actually we can. What do you think? Because you're a big mindset guy. What do you think that gap is? Like how do people get stuck in that? Well, I've just got to put up with what I've got to put up with and I can't push beyond that.
I don't really like the title of being a mindset guy, but I said that to my wife, and she says, "Well, you are about mindset." I'm like, "Oh shit,"
Yeah.
because it's true. You do need to elevate your mindset. I just don't like the title, but anyways,
Yeah. I understand that.
look, mindset's internal. Some people have an internal kind of combustion happening. They have that drive. Other people have external factors that make them push themselves. I think that it's a combination of two. I'm not a ambitious person when I was growing up, right? But you start getting these, if you're personally, if I'm speaking to the audience, if you're personally someone who struggles with motivation because to improve your life, then link it to someone that you do care about, such as your family, such as your child, whoever it is, such as a cause, whatever you're actually passionate about. You can use that as fuel to push yourself to the next step. That's only at the beginning. Once you start generating wins, like little wins, micro wins, you build that momentum, it starts to get easier and easier, and it becomes not a game, but it becomes fun, because you're just, like just tick, 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 tick. It's just, and it just, before you know it, I know I said 10 years ago we've been on this journey, but I can't believe it's been 10 years since we started our journey. It flies by because we're having fun. Like, this is pretty cool, and anything is possible. Like, I don't know. It sounds really airy fairy, but that's how I think. That's how I think now. I shared a little bit with Jeff about some goals that I have, and I don't share it openly, but some of it's kind of scary, but at the same time, it's kind of exciting as well. And I would never ever consider doing something like this 2 years ago, or even thinking about it. Even when I first started this property journey, it was a big deal for me to even say that I was a developer. As little as that, because when I speak to an agent and they go, "Oh, are you a developer?" and I go, "Oh, no, I'm not a developer. I'm just an investor. I'm just a everyday investor. Like, I don't know anything, kind of thing. I'm not from the industry." Like, I couldn't even give myself that label. But there's these certain things that you just mental shifts that, I don't know, for me anyway, has yielded amazing results. Yeah.
I want to, because we're talking a bit esoteric and high level, which is fine. That's all good. But it's interesting, and I'll get to my question. But I want to say, when I first started, I was thinking, okay, I want capital growth and cash flow, which is great. And that sort of sounds like the way you sort of started. If you want to do it, you want to do it properly. And because people ask this all the time, it's like, where do I go next? And I just say, well, figure out, like, as you're going on, it does start to become a lot clearer, because you start to see your strategy, what you actually enjoy doing. If you hate sort of managing projects, like Michael's going to talk to us about tonight, then developing's probably not for you. Maybe that's a buy and hold, but as it goes along, you'll then start to really dig into that sort of strategy, whichever path you're going to take. What I want to say though, Michael, tell us about this $18,500 deal, because that's how does that work?
Deal, was it?
Where was it? Like, what did it look like? How did you pull
So
it off?
that was in Moree, New South Wales, right? But I'll outline the strategy. Okay, so
Okay, yeah,
never heard of this. Never heard of this before, and this strategy. And I went to a a property event, property program course, and yeah, they shared this strategy. It was basically like discounted properties, and for some of you, you may be familiar with it. It's called unpaid rates, right? So in New South Wales, if you don't pay your rates up to 5 years, by law, legislation, the council is obligated to sell the property from under you. It serves two purposes, but one is to encourage you to pay your bloody rates, right? And the second is to, if you're not going to pay or you've disappeared or whatever the reason is, at least they're giving to someone who is going to pay the rates, right? So at that time, I just purchased, I purchased a property with my girlfriend, fiance, I'm not really sure, at the time, and we didn't have much money left, right? Like capital was all taken
After
up
the wedding.
after the wedding. Oh, dude, we had 2 weddings. So stupid. I thought I was smart. I was dumb. I was like, how come people aren't having 2 weddings? Everyone wins. No one wins. But yeah, so we explored unpaid rates, and eventually we got to an auction in Moree, right? And I remember my dad, he'd be like, "Why are you going to the country? Like, because we don't go out past Wollongong, like my family. That's as far as we'll go, or the Blue Mountains, right, or whatever, right?" And I tell him we're going here, we're going there. He's like, "Why are you wasting all your time? Just save your money and buy another property in Sydney." And when we went to this auction, and we actually purchased several properties actually, and I came back and I told my dad, he did a 180, like, "Oh, is there more?" Because $18,500 sounds crazy, right? So essentially, the property was owing $56,000. So it's been more than 5 years, right? It's owing $56,000 at the time to council.
Not a rate.
Rates and whatever, and we purchased it for 18.5, actually post auction, because I didn't even bother. Because I actually didn't have this property on my list of let's go for these ones. I just asked the agent afterwards, "Hey, how'd you go with that $56,000 house?" And he goes, "Oh, it got passed in. You interested?" I was like, "Okay, yeah, sure, for 10 grand," like as a joke. And he's like, "Oh, that's a bit too low." I'm like, "Okay, well, that was kind of weird to me." I was like, "Are you willing to entertain something?" He's like, "Oh, can you go a bit more?" Because I thought 56 meant 56, right? Nothing below. And then he goes, "Yeah, well, can you do 15 or something?" And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, let's start with 15." And then yeah, he went to the council and did his thing, and eventually we landed at they came down to 30 something, and then I went up a bit. I went up like 1 grand, they went down 10 grand, and eventually we landed at $18,500. So yeah.
That's so crazy. What year was this? Just 10 years ago.
I think it was 2016 or 2017 or somewhere there, like
Incredible. So you secured a property, and to build, I mean, just replacing the kitchen would cost more than $16,000. Like, you secured a property for $16,000. Doesn't even make any sense.
Yeah,
it's literally the middle of nowhere. You've obviously never been to Moree, Joe. I mean, it's probably the median house price now about 80, 90. So yeah, I mean, maybe a little bit more these days, but yeah. It's not,
Where is it? So just for the audience, where's Moree?
Back at Burke,
like the border. Yeah, border of Queensland, nearly up north. Yeah.
Oh, when you physically
7 hours away. I went there. It was a full Friday. It was a Friday evening. Friday arvo. We drove from Sydney after work all the way to Moree. I probably should have had an accident, to be honest. But yeah, I think I ruined my eyes after that trip, because I was straining 7 hours on the road the whole time after work on a Friday. Yeah, didn't do that again.
Work. Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
After work. We never went there afterwards. So we purchased for that. We then spent about $20,000 renovating it remotely. My wife did.
Should I bring up the screen?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. And then that way, talk to it. Because it's not the prettiest thing, and pretty is not profit, is what we say. And this is definitely not pretty. And so this unpaid rates thing, is this still around? Can we still do
around.
this?
It's still around. It's still around, but I don't. It also happens in metro areas. I bought. Yeah, can you see that burnt out house? We
What's the
bought
go with
too.
that?
we bought 3 properties. So we bought the house that you can see. That's renovated, by the way. The
This
one
is
in the middle there.
pre-renovation.
This is
That's
pre-renovation. Yeah. So
solid.
there was was it phone books? You guys remember phone books, right? Phone books. There's a phone book in the toilet, and I was wondering what it was. The
Toilet paper.
No.
Yeah. So
I mean, if you don't have any around,
available.
Jesus, it's too poor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. So this one taught me a lot of lessons. It taught me that this is not a scalable model. We made decent money because we actually flicked it later. We were after we finished the renovation, we're getting about 220 in rent a week. So all in, we're about 40K in, but we were getting 220 a week in rent. But then a year later, maybe less, we actually sold this property along with the other properties that we purchased. But as you can see here, that bottom left one, the burnt out husk, I was so green that that's friable asbestos, not just regular asbestos, because it's been burnt, so it's even more powdery. So we had to get air monitors and all this. We were given, there was a council notice to knock down that house that I wasn't aware of. And that cost me $25,000 or something. I can't remember.
Well, you would knock it down anyway. I mean, what else would you do? You're not going to do much with it.
Yeah, well, I didn't have a plan. So, this deal taught me that, you can lose money buying a bargain, right? So we lost money on that acquisition. I bought that house, that burnt out house, for $7,000 or $7,500.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we bought 3 properties and we flicked them all later.
25,000 on, 3 times as much on.
Not on this one. Yeah.
For just the 25K for the removal of for the council again. Incredible.
Yeah. So I guess it taught us that, as long as you have one good deal, it's all about quantity. You're going to make mistakes. We didn't know what we didn't know. And that's not going to let us be afraid of doing stuff, because I was afraid at that time. But at the end of the day, we're always up. We've been very lucky. We've been very fortunate. The reason why is because when we lose small. So that one, we bought it for 7, and then it cost us 25 to remove the house and all that, clear the land. And then we sold it as a bundle to another investor through a Sydney agent, or all 3 properties that we purchased. And I think it was like $150 to $170,000 altogether. So we made money, but not big money. Yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible. So I don't even know what to ask. So this unpaid rates thing, is this, so it's still around and we can still go out and do this, or it's just there's no real opportunity? It's a bit silly.
Because prices have gone up so much, I tried going to one in Ryde, because at the time, my family and I were living in Ryde, and it was the busiest auction I've ever been to. So they had to open up multiple parts of the club, and people were so crazy. So there was this triangular block, like the end of a I don't know how to describe it. It's like 60 square meters kind of thing, like a cul-de-sac corner, blah blah blah. Yeah, land in Ryde in Sydney, and people were just bidding. They didn't even know what they were bidding for. It just kind of. There was a guy that offered 600 off the bat. Like, just said 600, and the accountant gave him an out and asked, "Are you sure, sir?" And he goes, "Yeah, 600. No worries." And he goes, "You're bidding 600,000." Yeah, for this 60 square meter block. And he's like, 60 square meters? Oh no. So because this is a public auction, right? So there's some pitfalls, but it does exist, to answer your question.
Yeah. It's like once you start to, it's the splitter block example in Queensland or where it is. Like you could 10, 15, probably 20 years ago now, like you could really absolutely make a mozza of money if you bought the right type of deal, because people didn't know about it. Or the other example in Adelaide, Joe, like the retain and build. out the back, and now everybody knows about it. So it's not really like people spot them as, it's like not deceased, but a mortgagee in possession. You see it, and yeah, great. People think they're going to get a bargain, but if everybody thinks it's a bargain, then you just end up bidding against each other anyway. So you're not really, and then you need to then sort of pay that. Yeah.
There's windows of time. There's windows of opportunity where there's a killer deal, and then everyone jumps in because Joe and Jeff talk about it on Oz Property Investors, and then everyone just knows about it, and then there goes the opportunity.
if you guys wanna waste some time, you just basically go on New South Wales Gazette, Google it, right, and you literally go through the notice, and then you type in, like, it took me like, I don't know, 10 hours or 20 hours to figure this out. Just Command F on land sale or unpaid rates or something like that, and then you automatically find the listing if there is a listing in that particular issue of the Gazette. When I started, because there was no process, I had to figure it out. I was scrolling through, and if you've gone through the bloody State Gazette, it's boring stuff, right? Like, and it's all small text as well. So yeah, if you guys want to spend that time, but a thing that has been a big part of our journey now is only doing stuff that you can scale, and this was not a scalable strategy. So we did it once. It sounds amazing, but when's the next one going to come? You're waiting for a certain scenario, and we're not going to get to where we want to on maybes.
Yeah. Okay. So you started to, you made what, 50, 80, 100K or something like that from those 3 deals, a lot of lessons learned. So what did your education change? Like, what changed you to change this idea? Because this sounds like a winner, right? You $7,000, you made $100,000. That's pretty good. It's not, I mean, it would have been a lot of work and not great, but you didn't have to drive up there. You could have done a lot of blind auctions and all of that kind of stuff.
Because we wanted to, there's a ceiling for every strategy,
Okay.
There's only so much you can make through renovations, right? And there's only so much you can make from doing single dwellings. There's only so much you can make for doing duplexes, townhouses. As you increase the yield of the particular strategy, the ceiling rises, right? So that was what I learned from that strategy. It's good money, but we need something that's scalable. But I learned so much. Every deal, I've made tons of mistakes, like that friable asbestos property. Every single deal we learn, and we learn more from the mistakes, obviously, than from the successes. But it's incremental. It's just that I've done so many deals over the last 10 years. So
and it would be better to learn that sort of friable asbestos on a
small deal.
Versus a $1.5 million deal then you're like, oh crap, okay, now this delays us for 2 weeks or whatever it is. I don't know what the consequence is. Like, it's just actually replacing and renovating it through, which takes time and effort and all that, which then if you've borrowed 800,000, whatever it is, let's just say on a month, and you borrowed that at 5%, 8 times 5, 45, that's cost you all of a sudden, that's then costing you sort of, let's say $8,000 for those couple of months that you're not doing it. So so you'd rather learn that. And then so your progression where you are now is because of those smaller deals you did then. So you kind of learn along the way, rather than taking on the 1 into 50 lot subdivision straight away and making those mistakes.
Yeah, in hindsight, even if I didn't make any money in those early deals, they're like blessings, because the learnings from them are significantly more important. And there's certain things that theory can't teach you, only through experience, because we're funny people, right? Like, humans, we need to learn through pain to really internalize the lesson. Sometimes someone will tell you something and you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense, but you don't really truly understand it until you've experienced it. I'm pretty sure everyone can relate to that, but yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think it's having some commitment to it, and this is one of the things that I struggle with some people is like when they just spend all this time getting educated. I listen to all the podcasts, I listen to everything, and then I'm like, okay, cool. Well, you told me that 2 years ago, and I'm like, yeah, but I'm still listening. And I'm like, what have you done? And you haven't pulled the trigger. I'm like, because you weren't able to pull the trigger then, but it's been about a year. You've been able to make something happen, but you just, and it's like, no, I'm still not ready yet. I need more and more education. Like, how did you ever suffer from that? Like analysis paralysis, and that is analysis paralysis, but like
I'm impatient. So I'm really
mm,
impatient. I remember I did this one course and they were teaching something on the, on the stage, and I was actioning on my laptop as we were talking, right? I was talking about branding, for your property business and all this kind of stuff. It's like,
oh
why
yeah.
does it take, and then some people would take 3 months, 6 months. So I think there's a lack of
Gotcha.
understanding of the things that actually move, move the dial. These are fun things to do. Education is important. It's critical, but it's not. It's taking action that obviously trumps theory any day.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And
Well, I think
even if that action, just to jump in there, even if that action is literally you've had the chat with your bank or broker, whoever it is, and they've said, okay, look, go and pay off all those buy now, pay later things. If the action is literally picking up a second job to stack shelves at Woolies, make sure you're doing that, because just make sure you're moving further closer towards a thing. And don't let that be your excuse as well, though. Like after 3 months, if you're still saying, oh, look, I need to pay off the buy now, pay later, then it's not that's a problem. You probably are. So you need
Yes.
to reassess what's going on there. So set yourself that kind of they call it the peg in the sand sort of thing with I Love Real Estate. I think that's what the concept. And they say, well, that's there, and just that's what you've set for yourself.
Yes.
mm,
And it,
So
it all comes back
I know.
to your motivation, because if you are 3 months later in the same position and nothing's changed, that's 3 months you're not going to get back, right? That's 3 months that you've lost in the market. That's 3 months of being stuck in your head. Why would you let that happen? Why would you do that to yourself? Why would you do that to the people around you? You're probably shitty to be around because you don't feel good about yourself, right? Because you haven't done anything the last 3 months. But if I take action, I give myself permission to fail. Even if I failed, I still tried, right? There's nothing wrong with trying and failing. Like I do it all the time. Like it's just
Probably
testing. You don't know what
try and
works.
avoid going bankrupt. But yeah,
Yes.
no, that's so let's sort of move on with the journey a little bit, because what happened after you did that and you did all these cup free renos in Maureen surrounds, then why did you decide, okay, I'm going to go and develop either rooming house? What came next?
So it was a granny flat deal and a
Ooh,
renovation of the house that we
okay.
purchased.
How did
Before
you how did you decide that though, Mike? Because the thing I like, it's just the thing I want people to take away from this lesson, this session is, okay, great. He's done all these deals. It's amazing. He's fantastic. But it's how you kind of made the decision to get to that particular strategy.
yeah.
because I owned it already, so I didn't have to put in more money to get in on a
Oh,
deal. So you got to work
okay.
with what you got, right? If you got no money or limited money, then work with what you got. If you don't own any properties, like so we already own this, and
Yeah.
really this deal was not the ideal location for a granny flat. It's in Denniston in Sydney,
Oh yeah.
which is like Norwest Ride, Council,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's not really the best place. It wasn't the right strategic decision, but I don't regret it because I learned so much from it. So the reno, I did such a shit job of doing the renovation that my dad eventually just rocked up because he got sick of me asking me, "Have you finished the reno?" And I'm like, "No, we're living there at the same time." And he just rocked up one day, just finished the painting for me because he was just so sick of it. So we were kind of practicing. We learned how not to get gypped or how to get gypped by a contractor. So then like, okay, well, we know not to do that next time. We did I think it was like, I spent like $12,500 doing a custom kitchen, but I was following Cherie Barber's renovation guide. And then I realized, I remember my Sparky, oh, my plumber, who's like, like a, pretty, you know, pretty down to earth kind of guy. He's like, "Why did you buy this sink?" And I said, "What's wrong with it? This is what the guide told me to buy from Bunnings. Like I literally copied everything." And he goes, "Because it's so cheap." And then he just kind of bent it with his hand, and I was like, "Oh shit!" So and then I realized, oh, that guide is for like the Blacktown market, or back in the day, like different tiers for different markets. And the granny flat, I learned a lot as well because. At that point, I was kind of thinking to myself, I was playing with the idea internally that I want to be a developer, right? But it's like something I wouldn't even voice out loud, right?
What actually what is or was your job before? What were you doing?
I was working in my family's business. We have a wholesale business. I was doing deliveries. I was doing admins. I then eventually did sales operations in the warehouse. But at the beginning, I was literally the guy, you know, with a singlet and pushing the trolley with cartons and
Yeah.
and delivering them to shops in the city. So yeah,
Right.
that's
Okay.
my background. Yeah, again, failed failed Asian. didn't work corporate or anything like that. So my parents I think I was a bit of a lost cause. Yeah, but yeah, no, that's I think they literally said that once. But anyways, um, what was it?
Sorry, I
So
threw you off.
yeah, the granny flat was I learned from that process that we engaged a second biggest builder of granny flats at the time in Sydney. So I
Yep.
wasn't going some cheapy, like independent, never heard of, kind of thing. And we thought we're going through the proper channels. We're going to get a proper service back. That was an assumption that I had. Anyways, long
Mhm.
story short,
Yeah.
it turned out that the builder and the certifier hated each other for this project, and no one said anything until they're both engaged, and they didn't want to talk to each other, and the builder refused to build even though he took my deposit. I had to take in the fair trading, and it's only when I left him a negative review, Google review, that he actually started taking me seriously. And we eventually negotiated, and I think I got half my money back. So I didn't even get all my money back. To this day, I still don't
Wow.
know what was the problem. He just
So
made
nothing happened on site.
He delivered a portaloo. He delivered some windows for some reason, but nothing else happened, and it was just months of nothing happening. I'm like, what's the problem? And he'll say, "Oh, it's your plans." I'm like, "Well, tell us what you need." And the draft lead's like, "Yeah, I'll change whatever you want." And it's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, it's just making up stuff." He just didn't want to do it for whatever reason, but didn't want to give me my money back either. So I took a hit, confidence wise, but
Yeah,
I
I
also
bet.
learned a lot of lessons. Like you have to make sure that there's harmony in your team. If
How,
they
how,
hate each other,
how do
you know,
you kind
Yeah.
of discover that before you get it? Because they're not going to say, "Oh, I don't like that certifier." Like, how do you uncover those before you even get into the project?
just ask them. Okay, they're not gonna. Some people are a bit like they don't want to be seen as referring someone because conflict of interest. But I'll literally say, look, this is what happened to me. I'll outline what happened to me, and I'll just high level. I had a situation where and if they're a plumber, I'll say, oh, Chippy hated the plumber, and they're like, oh, okay, so you're linking it to them, and I just say, is there anyone you hate? Because I'd hate to bring someone on site that you hate or you have beef with, and they're like, oh, well, I don't like this guy. It's like, oh, okay, cool, there we go, yeah. Nice.
Yeah. So you're sort
Okay.
of you're asking the sort of the silly, not the silly, but the
The
basic sort of
opposite.
questions.
Yeah. Who do you like and who do you dislike? I guess is that extra one that saves a lot. Who do you like is the obvious one, right? Like if you've got a Sparky that has a Chippy, they get along fantastic because he's referred him. He's going to get along with him. And yeah, okay. Who do you dislike though, or who's a bit of a waste of space in the industry? Is a great question. Like,
Maybe not the waste of space thing. Just like who would you
probably.
who don't
Who
you
do you
work that
dislike
well with?
working with? Like you don't
Yeah.
want to be in close proximity with. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just people will tell you. You just
That's
try
pretty.
both angles.
It's pretty important for all. Like you ask your accountant, like who are the brokers you do a lot of business with, and who are the ones that you could prefer maybe not to do business with, kind of things. Or the account, same question for the broker, the accountant, same question for the buyer's agent,
It's,
etc.
well, it's also saying the person's name as well, because like they're not going to rattle off 15 people. So like, oh, I'm thinking about engaging this surveying company, and I'm thinking about doing this surveying company. Which one would you recommend? Or which one do you think is better or worse or whatever? Because yeah, that's a great lesson. So you started working on this renovation. I mean, this granny flat. And so what was the plan? Renovate the front house, then granny flat at the back. Was there a strategy of like, I need the cash flow, I need the capital growth? It sounds like it was, I have no money. I can't afford from a borrowing capacity and serviceability to actually buy an entirely new asset. So with the little money that I have, I'm going to use that to put that into a granny flat to what, add value to then sell, or like what was the thought around it?
It was just cash flow. Just literally, we
Right.
weren't thinking of selling. We weren't living there. Or sorry, we moved out because we didn't want to live there eventually. But yeah, It was just for cash flow. There was no
Okay.
higher strategy or anything like that at that time. Yeah, but
So,
again, I believe in doing things. Like I can't sit still. I like momentum.
so okay. So so this is the house. This is the, you haven't done much, really. New kitchen, the floor's the
New
same. You probably
kitchen
polished
and a
this up.
bathroom.
Actually, the bathroom, Jesus, that's what it was, and
Yeah.
this is what it ended up being.
Yes. So
No.
the plumber bloody cut through one of our beams, and
Oh, no.
and then like he didn't even tell us, and yeah,
Which
we had
one?
to
This
replace
one?
the whole thing. No, the lower one of the two. Yeah, the lower one.
Oh,
See
the
that
bent
one there?
one.
He
Yeah.
just cut through it, didn't say anything, and when someone, I think the tiler went for whatever reason, it went under. He's like, "Hey, something feels off," and then he went to have a look under, and he's like, "Shit, like your beam is
You,
cut in half nearly. It's just like hanging by a thread." I'm like, "Far out." So we had to replace that, and that cost more money. We did the demo ourselves. That was a lot of fun. I've never, played with a sledgehammer before, and that was a lot of fun. But yeah, we learned a lot of lessons like from that project. And that's the
nice.
granny flat. Yeah, this is the builder. So after my experience of the first builder, I went to the certifier and I says, look, just tell me who you like working with. Who do you not have
Who
issues
doesn't
with?
hate you?
Yeah, who doesn't hate you? Who do you not hate? And he goes, well, all right, I shouldn't do this, but this guy's pretty decent. And that builder, we referred him more business. My mother-in-law built with him. He's a nice guy. I can't remember his name now, which is really bad. But yeah, you just build these relationships over time.
Here we go. Townhouse. This is where I love the formations. We're about close to 40 minutes in, so we just need to
Yeah.
kind of get to the developing and
Okay,
27
cool.
and 40. But Ricky's asked the question. I'll humor us a little bit, and he said, because I want to ask is, what made you so determined to make it work? Where did you get your confidence and strengths from, or was it just kind of stuffing up and working out what worked?
Um, I don't know. That's a hard question to answer.
Is a
Because
hard
it's
question to answer. Why are
that's a
you
really
so
hard.
great?
Probably because did you hate pushing trolleys? Were you pain driven or were you goal driven? Like what was kind of
Pain
driving you
driven.
more? Yeah,
Pain
exactly.
driven.
Yeah.
Pain
Yeah, because
driven.
that kind of then tells me that, yeah, because I'm very much okay. I want to be able to travel, so I'm like, okay, look, if I don't do that thing, it's going to hold me back. I want to spend time with family. If I don't do that, like the consequences are I don't get to do that thing. So I'm kind of like, maybe it's a little bit of pain there as well, but I don't hate my job. I love a bit doing what I do. I love running the Oz property thing. So yeah, that's not enough of a driver to get away. I don't need to get away from it. So, but yeah, interesting. And consider that. But yeah, what happened next, Michael? Sorry if you wanted to throw more in there.
I'll just be real quick since time is short. Stuck in COVID in Campbelltown and
Ooh, I love it.
decided to do. There was a new SEP that just came out. We thought we could get away with the affordable housing rental SEP or something like that. I can't remember. It was a new policy at that time, state environmental planning policy, and we thought we could do 6 townhouses on this site. Next door was already existing townhouse. On the other side was a 4 townhouses. It was approved. This is me and my wife submitting it at council. Crap load of bloody plans, as you can see. Then we failed so badly. We failed really, really badly. This is another shift. This is actually a really pivotal part of our journey. We failed the first time. We couldn't get the DA. The council's like, nope, we don't care that there's a new state planning policy. We don't care. We don't care. We don't care. Take us to court. We don't care. And I was like, wow. Gave feedback to the planner. Planner goes, the team leader planner. Team leader planner says, look, if you want to go again, I'll be on the team. I'll be involved so that we make sure that you have a smoother process, because I was sharing how disappointed I was. And I'm like, all right, let's just do it. And I didn't want to rock the boat. I'll do exactly what my next door neighbor just got approval for: 4 townhouses instead of 6. And same planner, same architect, same engineer, everything exactly the same. And they still shot us down. And I was like, whoa. And
What?
look, I'm going to say something very controversial, but at that time, one of the objections, like this is via Zoom because, it's lockdown period.
Oh yeah, of course.
The planner, the team leader planner, she asked me, looking at the plan, she said, oh, looking at your plans, this couch and this dining table, it doesn't look like it's 1.5 meters. And me and my architect, like, over Zoom, like, what's going on? What was she talking about? It doesn't make any sense. And they're like, what has something happened? Like, because you remember we had that 1.5 policy at that time during lockdown. And I asked a question like, oh, when did COVID policies get implemented in the planning policy, in the DCP, in the LEP?
Social distance. They were concerned about social
Distancing.
distancing.
Yes,
Goodness,
inside
wow.
the
a
layout of
house.
one townhouse. Yeah, inside its own
No, you
internal
can't
home.
get too close, man. You could catch. But they actually,
From your own family.
Yeah.
This came up in the convo, and I was like, "Are you for real? Like, when did this happen?" Like, "Oh, it hasn't been." I'm like, "So, what? Why are we even talking about this? I don't understand it." And then they, fall back on their whole like, "Oh, we're trying to protect the community." Like, just BS. It didn't make any sense. This is its own one townhouse by itself. So I kind of lost it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, how do you handle that situation? Well, okay, how did you handle the situation? And do you think if you handled it better, the situation would have changed? Like, is there a way to handle those situations? Because I'm a little bit fiery, and I'm a little bit like in that situation of like, it doesn't make sense. And if you make sense, I'm all for it. And if you can justify it, amazing. Tell me how bad it is, but. Yeah, if you're talking about a 1.5 meter thing, so what did you do? What happened?
I lost it obviously during the conversation. I won't outline what happened there, but eventually I basically gave up on the project, and I decided to sell it. We still made money because the market was rising at that time, but opportunity costs, I lost quite a bit. Like, whatever, it is what it is. But the lesson from that deal. And I don't want to say this is this case for everybody, but I was told something by a local developer at that time, right? I'm good at connecting with local developers and investors and whatever. And this guy, you would never find him. He's an engineer, and he told me something. He said to me, "Michael, when you put your plans in, you're gonna have to go straight to land environment as part of your process." And at that time, I was
Oh,
still
wow.
naive. I was like, "Oh, you don't have to do that. That's a bit, that's a bit too much. Come on, right? Like, we're following the rules. There's no problems." I should have listened to him. I was too optimistic. And my lesson from that was, when politics gets involved, it doesn't matter what the rules are. Some people will be like, they'll dig their heels in. It's politics. It's outside your control. It's like trying to convince someone of something they already believe. It's too hard. And when you start getting bogged down in those kind of situations,
just don't do it.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Exactly. Don't do it. So we, pivoted and started doing projects in Queensland.
The challenge that I have with this deal is next door has a 6 lot. The door next door to that has a 4 lot. So why? Yeah, that.
How long are you going to argue that case for, though, Joe? They're gonna bleed you. You'll. Yeah, you sure you might be right.
Well, how do you avoid? Okay, before you purchase that deal, how do you avoid that situation? Like, is there a way that you could have avoided that, or are you buying a site that's subdividable 1 into 6, and all of a sudden it can't?
That's why people, like developers now, only do, like, a lot of them, not everyone, in Sydney anyway, will tell you it's CDC or nothing. Because it's something that I have to submit a DA for, I don't touch it.
Wow.
Because they can't wear that risk. It could be 1 year, it could be 2 years, it could be 10 years. You could be fighting that battle forever, unless you're willing to take it to land environment. And, people, council, I don't want to start picking on councils, but it's politics. I had one, that property I had in Denniston, the one in Ryde. We had an interim heritage overlay placed on a property down the road. It was a development for like 4 townhouses, and then because they couldn't reject it based on planning policy, the mayor puts on a freaking interim heritage overlay. The developer chucks a fuss, threatens to sue. Then they're like, "Oh no, we have we were planning to do the whole street anyway. There's just interim to stop you, but we actually have plans to put a local heritage overlay on it." And then my house, which is bloody down the road, is not even near, was at the time when I still owned it, heritage for no reason. So councils are literally using these policies to push their agenda, so you can't control this stuff. So my big lesson out of that was, just go where it's easier. It's all Australian dollars. Just go where it's easier and where you're wanted. And it's
okay. That's a very good lesson. We've got to jump to our next sponsor, but I want to follow up with, okay, now we're going interstate. Now we're going borderless investor. And your first interstate deal, what was that? 1 into 4 or 1 into 6? No,
1 into 2.
1 into 2 massive houses. And then, yeah, let's jump into this and then dive deep into how that works.
Everywhere you look, someone else is making money in property except for you. Your mate, he just bought a house. It's already gone up $100,000. There's some bloke on Facebook, he's bragging about pulling in a 7% rental yield. Meanwhile, you're stuck scrolling real estate and domain, confused as hell and having no idea about where to start. Or maybe you're that mate that's got $100,000 in equity. You have a few properties under your belt, but you feel stuck. You're unsure about how to scale without over-leveraging and not knowing what the next right move is. So why does it feel like everyone else has some kind of secret that you're missing out on? It's because they do. There's a reason some people keep stacking properties while others sit on the sidelines stacking excuses. There's a reason why some investors buy under market value while others pay too much. There's a reason why investors know the hot spots before there's any heat. And there's a reason that some people build $150,000 in passive income while others just spend years thinking about it. And it comes down to knowledge. And that's exactly why Jeff Miles and I, Joe Tucker, created the Level Up Property course to hand you the exact step-by-step process that we've used to buy over $100 million worth of property in today's market. We've built Australia's largest property investment community with over 80,000 members, and we help everyday investors secure hundreds of thousands of dollars in equity, all without wasting years of their life trying to figure it out the hard way. Making an uneducated decision on the biggest purchase in your life is just gambling with your future.
Stop it. Get some help.
And this isn't just another how to buy property course. Let's be clear though, this course isn't free. What? And neither should it be. This is our life's work. We've spent over 100 hours each on this course alone. Oh, babe. Okay, video number 3. Number 4 with million does... Fuck. Done. We've got decades of experience, millions of dollars in deals distilled into a repeatable process that you can take away for yourself. If you're looking for free advice, there's plenty of noise out there. You can go and find that if you'd like. But if you want real, actionable, step-by-step guided process that works in today's market, then this investment is going to change everything for you. By the time that you finish this course, you will have full confidence. You'll have every tool that you need to build an amazing portfolio if you act on it, right? Which is why we have mentoring built in. So we kick you up the butt to make sure that you're kicking your goals. So the real question is, how much longer are you going to watch everyone else making money in property before you jump in and start playing the property game properly? Because the sooner you start winning.
And we are back. So I want to ask one of Ricky's questions. Is this why I wanted to ask before the ad, but he said you've made it public that you've done a lot of developments in Queensland. Is that the reason? Is Queensland just more development friendly? And why not Wollongong? Because Wollongong is very development friendly, I hear, in certain pockets.
I just avoided the whole state. I just wanted to move out of New South Wales, to be honest. I was just so turned off because it's ingrained in the culture where developers are looked as sort of like the enemy. Like, do you know what I mean? They're not even polite. Like, they literally, they think that they're the gatekeeper to, and the planners are weird in New South Wales. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah.
And also, what about the value? Like, I've got a really good friend that lives in South Australia, and they bought a $600,000 house, and they subdivided it and split it off. It's like, but in Sydney, it's $1 million, $2 million, $3 million for a house. So it also is a bit challenging to actually afford to develop in Sydney. Was that a factor?
I guess it wasn't a factor with the move because I wasn't thinking of, growing. It was just something you do on the side. I was still working. So it wasn't, I wasn't thinking about scaling or anything like that. But yeah, cost would be a huge factor. So if I were to compare my journey with, Sydney developers, friends that I know, they'll do one deal, I'll do 10. So it wasn't by design. I'm just lucky that I made that strategic decision just from that bad experience. Yeah
Interesting. So Waiting for 7:30, and it is in full mode. Oh, 7:30. Okay, 7:30 in Queensland. Sasha, mate, we're 7:30 Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time, ADT, as Joe loves to call it. He loves
It's called
it.
New South Wales time.
No, but what about Victoria? It's the same thing. So tell us about this one, this duplex. Would you say that is everyone into a duplex or not always?
So this is actually Torrens title. They're actually two separate properties.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this was a splitter block.
Ooh.
And yeah, it's
You
a
didn't
splitter block.
retain though. You decided to develop.
Yeah, we knocked it down. There's a house sitting over the top of it. We
Yep.
picked it up for about $130,000 below what the vendor bought it for. This
How much?
woman,
Sorry.
$130,000 below. So it was a divorce. It was a divorce that was happening. They overpaid, basically. They overpaid.
Oh,
So yeah, like I think it took us over 6 months to get this property over the line because the vendor wasn't willing to accept my offer, which is fine. They went on the market, and every time they get another offer, and then they do their due diligence, and then the other person's offer would be lower than mine. And this happened for 6 months, and eventually they got to the point where they're like, maybe Michael's offer is the best offer we're going to get. And I'm not here to lowball anyone. I just offer, fair price based on what I see, because there's certain challenges on that site. It has like flood overlay and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's 8 kilometers from the CBD. It's my very first interstate project. I did this one for my parents. Yeah.
Where's Joe gone? He's disappeared. Who knows what's going on. So whilst Joe's figuring out his camera setup, sometimes he does this, and it's fair enough. We all have to work out our camera situation. But I want to know, Michael, was this 2021, 2022? What time span before it?
I think it was about
It's back.
5 years ago, maybe.
Okay. So
Yeah,
roughly
5
back
years, maybe 6 years. Like it was just before I think the lockdown thing happening, or was it post COVID? I don't know, something like 5 years ago, something like that.
crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the house that was on there, was it a knockdown? Because the
Yeah, it was a reason. It was a typical Queenslander house. But yeah, in that first year that I started doing these interstate deals, that's 1 and 2, and I actually did 3 and 4 as well, like in the same period of time. The reason why is because I had 6 months of doing all my due diligence, so I basically figured out, like, I had time to figure out how this would work. How would I, how would we, what design, blah blah blah, all these different things. And look, to be fair, I do very little. Everyone is smarter than me, but I had to at least familiarize myself with the process. That's your job, right? To know what's coming up next.
Yeah.
And that was
know
that was a really
to
good
know
deal.
what's coming. Actually, can
Yeah.
you? I mean, I know we're going to go off bit topic, and Jeff might not like this, but like, how do you think about developers? So you need to know what's coming up next. What are some of the other things that a developer must think about and must do to be successful?
That's a broad question. Okay, number one thing, you got to know price.
Okay.
I don't know the process because the process always changes.
Yeah, price to build versus price to buy. Like, what does price mean?
Prices in terms of acquisition, because build prices are pretty consistent across the board, right? Like whatever it is per square meter. I'm not going to go with the most expensive builder or the cheapest builder, blah blah blah. But I need to know what is a good deal. That's why I'm able to action deals, like on the spot. I got one Friday. He told me the price. Yes, done. That's it. Like, because I know what a good deal is. I know it's 10% below market. You just need to know certain things. You don't need to know everything. You just need to know price. And
you make money when you buy.
Yeah, you make money when you buy. It's the same with developers, investors, renovators. It doesn't matter what you're doing. You still need to know the price. And that's why it's really important to engage someone who knows what they're doing. Because if you don't know, when you say that you're from Sydney, they're going to charge you more, right? But the other thing is, you're looking at it from Sydney eyes, right? So everything's cheap to you. If you're from Sydney, you go up to Queensland, everything's cheap. And I know this because of my parents' experience. They bought 4 properties from the same agent. They got ripped. Like, they paid $100,000 more on each of the sites, and they bought 4 from this one agent. And that's another reason why I started educating myself, because I didn't like that. I didn't like that you're subject to someone else's bullshit, and we don't even know if they're telling the truth or
Yeah.
not. So you need to
Yeah.
know these are non-negotiables.
And
So know the price,
that'll
know the value.
happen. That'll happen to locals or in a state. Like it's more about the cost of inexperience, I would say, because that's what you said there about and anybody watching us about developing. It's literally figuring out what price you need to buy that site for. If you overpay for the site, you're going to be behind the eight ball, and that's where I would imagine most people lose money. Yes, you can, of course, there can be COSO runs. You can hit sort of bedrock and all that sort of stuff, which is not going to help. But if you sort of get it wrong from the start, it's just very hard to then make profit. And then everything that goes wrong, because things will go wrong, you'll then sort of turn it from a deal that sort of breaks even to a deal that loses money.
100%. Yeah, it's worth that investment. So, you can. You can spend a whole bunch of time looking for the best builder and all that kind of stuff, or with different contractors, but you should invest that in your own knowledge. Once you know, then you just know. It's just, I don't know how else to describe it. Yeah.
No,
Well,
oh, sorry, go.
yeah. Well, that's what I was going to say, is because we were chatting with you on like a pre-chat that we have with everyone. How much have you invested in knowledge? Because we were just throwing courses at you and you're like, yeah, done that one. Oh, yeah, done that one. Like, it's not like you're not trying to say this from a space of arrogance of, oh, you just know and you just know. It's the hours of sitting in front of a computer and filling in the workbooks, and you've done every single property course and spent, I mean, how much have you spent on property courses to get yourself to this position?
I've spent on property courses and also business courses, because again, property is just another business from a mindset perspective. I reckon we've spent $200,000-$300,000, just because I have a budget for education. I have a budget every year that I have to spend. So this year I paid 10 grand for a book. Like that was, I'm not going to go there, but yeah, that was 10 grand for a book. I bought a marketing course. I also bought into a business acquisition course, because business acquisition, is all about vendor financing. And I thought that, hey, that might help me with negotiating vendor finance deals, or something with property as well. So it's all interconnected. You always have to be upgrading yourself. You don't have to know everything back to front, but you need to be in that habit of always learning and growing. And that's, over time, you just, you just move, ahead.
Was some of that Hermosi as well? Did you try and get it?
I bought the 10 grand Hermosi.
The 10 grand. I was like,
yes, I bought it.
That's when you were talking 10 grand. I was like, he's got a bundle pack of that.
Is it a good book?
I got it. Oh, dude, it's like 10 book. You get these little booklets, and then you get the main book, and then anyways, it's just smart ways of packaging.
Could I get one of those up next? Anyway, I love this question from Elijah.
Send me one now that you have 800,000 of them. How do you think about finding people to invest in your project, and do you present them with the full due diligence brief? This sounds like Elijah might have a deal on his hands.
Or could we even, sorry, before we go back, because we're assuming here that he actually takes on outside sort of partners. Like, how do you fund your deals at these days, or how did you?
So I don't have a website. I don't have a way for people to, they do contact me. I just had someone ask me today. I generally don't work with people I don't know, because it's really important it's not just about money. It's about working with the right personalities. And it doesn't mean that the other party's bad, or I'm good and they're bad, and they're bad, I'm good, or what? Sorry, I'm bad, they're good. It doesn't matter. It's whether you vibe with each other, because if you guys do not vibe, it doesn't matter how much money you make. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. At the beginning, you kind of, pull your pants down and just, do deals with everybody. I understand that, but it's just, it's, you need to keep the end in mind, because it becomes a bit of like a drug, right? It's like easy money. But the thing is, you do these deals, and then you come out of it and you're like, didn't really make that much. Was that really worth that effort? Do you know what I mean? That year that I just lost, those hours of sleep or whatever it is? And usually the answer is no. So I get where Elijah's coming from. I'm not trying to be unsympathetic to, his scenario or his question, but how I kind of started was one way I suggest to people who do ask me this question, I'd be telling them to share what they're doing, because it's really hard to convince people to give you their money, right? Then you can convince people, but then people start thinking they're the money, they're your boss essentially, and I don't like that. So it's just, you kind of have to, be clever about it. But at the beginning, just share your journey, share what you're doing. Say, for example, I've never done any deals. I'd be sharing, hey guys, Michael here. Today I'm looking at this and I thought this was interesting, this new planning policy that's come out at Moreton Bay or whatever, right? So it's like you're just sharing that so people know that you're into this, and you might be someone that they might think of later on, so you got to share. And I'll give you a scenario. One of my experience, one reason why I started doing videos, because I shared, just what I'm doing, kind of videos. The reason why is because at one of these property events, I didn't like the fact that there was a lady that I met. I'm not going to name her. I forgot her name anyway. But there was a lady that I met, and she said that she's from Ride, and I was like, oh, cool, awesome, blah 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 blah. I was asking questions, and then she got all weird. Like her face went all like, oh, you're asking a lot of questions, and I was like, well, we're at a property event. Like, okay, sorry. Well, cool. And then at the next break, I saw her again, and I didn't approach her this time because of what she said. And I just, waved at her like, hello, because we, made eye contact. And then she was all like this to me. And I was like, what the hell? And I was thinking, what am I doing wrong? So then I started, you know what? I'm going to turn this around. I'm going to make it so that people come up to me, right, at the next property event that I go to. So I started sharing. It's not that hard to share. Oh yeah. Then it's like too much of. but
I mean, I love chatting to people, but I like to go up to people sometimes. But anyway, so it's interesting you say that, because even what I was going to say, you need to, I suppose, be a little bit careful when you're kind of sharing, because there are some certain restrictions around raising capital. So if you're saying, hey,
I just share deals. I don't share like to raise funds.
Yeah, I'm just, for anybody watching is like, oh, I'm going to go and talk about this 1 into 20 deal that, like, DM me tomorrow for an IM or whatever information around them. Just be careful of that, because you'll get yourself into trouble a little bit sometimes, maybe. Yeah, 100%. But no, I agree. It's the process and the journey. And we'll talk to some of these deals. Let's go through some of these deals now, because you've done some amazing stuff, and the process and the results you've achieved from it. Because I think you're bloody amazing, Mike. Well done.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Okay, so now you've gone a bit nuts here. You've done a subdivision with rooming with family first small. What's this? Family first small lot code deal valued at.
Oh, this is my first small lot code. So something else I discovered was, and something that wasn't a secret, but it wasn't well known, which was that certain blocks in Queensland could be subdivided, but generally people didn't realize they could be subdivided. So I picked up a ton of these kind of sites because they're just, so, typically it's 800 square meters, 10-meter frontage, 10-meter frontage. Everyone knows that. If it's a splitter block, even better. It's already subdivided. So we're picking up 600 square meter blocks. So in the vendor's eyes, they're just maybe, they're 200 square meters more, but it's just like a little bit more land. And we're picking up this property itself. We picked it up for like 380. There's a hole in the roof. It was a 2-story. I had to change hats when I was talking to the agent. At first I was like, oh, I'm an investor. Then I put on a different hat. I'm a renovator. I didn't know anything. He was bullshitting me. He's like, oh, I'm a chippy. Oh, it's no big deal. When the guys did the demo, they said that, oh my God, it was disgusting. And if demo guys said it was disgusting, then it was disgusting, right? That's like next level. But yeah, that deal was really great. We actually got avowed last year for 1.38 each. So we picked that up for 380.
So you did. So you built 2 rooming houses side by side.
Yes, we knocked it down and we built 2 rooming houses, and these are all Torrens title. So they're separate titles.
So how many rooms is there?
So 5 and 5. Yeah, 10 in total.
Because five is the maximum in Queensland, isn't it? Or depending on what.
There are exceptions.
Class.
Yeah, there are exceptions. Yeah. There are exceptions. Common.
What are your thoughts on the state government overlay? Are they going to carry this on after December?
I heard that they were going to extend it, but at the same time, why would you don't put yourself in a situation where you can lose? I probably would take
don't
the
buy
risk.
sites based on the thought that they're going to extend it. Correct. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because then if it doesn't, then you've basically got an unprofitable deal that doesn't stack. And then what is the exit? You're leaving this I agree with Michael there, because you want to have clear exit strategies. Like if that doesn't play out, what else? That's what I would sort of think. I love this question from James. And Thomas has said, unbelievable. If people are loving it so far, we could probably go for 2 hours, but I don't know how Joe feels about that.
I feel like
James,
this needs to be, I just don't feel like we've done this episode enough justice. Like I feel like what we've done is really good so far, but I don't even feel that we scratched the surface of the value that you dive deep into. So I do think we might have to get you back on, mate.
Yeah, we'll unpack the advance, or like part one, part two. This is your beginning sort of side. So James asked, because I love this. I love to get the insights and the wisdom, because then people can start to learn how to consider it themselves. He said, any hot tips on finding these low rundown places? Probably, I'd say just quickly, James, before Michael answers, pick up your phone and get on the phone and speak to the agents. It's the easiest way of doing it. I don't know, like, is it much more advanced than that? Like, I don't know.
No, that's it. I look for the ugly ones, ugly ducklings. That's what I call them, right? The uglier, the better. There was a strategic advantage where we're picking up sites that no one else wanted. So think about it, right? If it's a raw block of land, who's going to build there? Someone's going to build their home there. And most people did want to build their home next to the train station, for example, or on the main highway. Like that property that you saw, that's a 8-lane road. It cuts right through Brisbane. Like, half Brisbane know that's my rooming house. So you're really trying to identify an opportunity that you're not fighting against your mum and dad or some owner occupier or whatever it is. It's just strategy. As long as you have your strategy set out, then it kind of just falls into place. Like, again, I'm not a detail oriented person. I just try to be as strategic as possible. Because
look at it, the macro, right? Like if someone's going to rent just 1 bedroom and 1 bathroom, wouldn't they own a car? Probably not going to own 5 cars each. So where would they like to have access to? Maybe a train station or a bus stop or
a KFC. That one's a KFC. Yeah, tenants love the KFC. I love KFC.
Everyone loves KFC.
I don't know about it. Doesn't love me back though, so I don't like things that money. But interestingly, some question I wanted to throw at you. How are you? What is your ratio? Because I imagine people are thinking this. It's great you've done 27 developments, another 40 in the pipeline. How many of those can you keep versus how many you sell? Like, what does that look like?
Great question.
So I don't have them written down, but I would say half of the 27, I think I'm guessing here, are probably my own, right? As in, the other half we've done for other people. So when I say other people, I mean my friends. I've done 9, I think, for high school friends. I've done some for people that I met, like, at a property event that I mentioned, my 3rd and 4th rooming house. He's doing his 4th deal with me now, So but we're kind of moving towards just doing them for ourselves, because my wife asked me this question when I was doing it for other people. Like, I did it for my parents because it's your family. You don't charge your family, right? Then anyway, I do now. But only because I stopped giving deals to my mum, and she's like, why are you not giving to us? And I said, because I can't charge you, So anyways, shit, I lost my train of thought, guys. Sorry.
Keeping versus selling. So it sounds like you're probably approximately
We're moving towards keeping. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Majority are keeping. We're probably doing 80% keep now. So the 40 that we have, we're as much as I can, because financing has changed. We're at a certain level now, so that lenders kind of love me. So there's these kind of things that you break through this milestone, and then boom, it's like, man, they just keep, they're making it really easy. So what used to, we'd have to put in like a couple $100,000 because it's really hard to fund rooming. Now I only have to put like half of that nearly, so I can.
Are you starting to get to the stage where you can tap into the private bank sort of side of things? Is that the level given you run a business? Are they comfortable or not really?
Well, we're getting commercial financing. Yeah, we're getting
Okay,
commercial financing
yeah,
now.
not
Yeah,
private. Okay, private banking.
no.
Because yeah,
We have some private lenders,
yeah,
but
very
they're
very different.
yeah
I wouldn't go to
different.
those guys.
Yeah, different kettle
Yeah.
of fish.
Okay.
But they have
Yeah.
their place.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, like for blended sort of funding, like mezzanine, sort of top it up, and yeah, if you can get sort of 80% at 8% or 7% or whatever, and then you get your last remaining 10% at 20%. Yeah, sure, 20% is not great, but yeah, it's overall your rate's about sort of 9.5, 10%, whatever it is. Which if the numbers make sense, the deal makes sense. So,
Yes.
are you with commercial funding? Are you then like, is it part of the deal that they want you to sell a couple of them as well, like pre-sell,
No.
or are they just saying they're comfortable?
So I hope we have time, but I'll try to be quick. So commercial financing was a process for me as well, right? So last year, I think it was last year, I heard that there was like a big four lender who was lending for rooming. And
Ooh.
I spoke to the guy who, told, that I heard had this financing. He wouldn't share the detail with me. Then I heard someone else had it who got it from him. So I spent like 3 months, I think, wooing this guy, like just giving him as much value as I could. Just at first,
How
he's
much
like, "Who's this
KFC do
guy?"
you
He just
buy?
ignored me. Oh,
Yeah.
just no. We just had lunch eventually. He's like, "Hey, you should come. We should catch up and have lunch." He's from the Sutherland Shire, and but at first, he doesn't know who I am, so I had to give value to this guy. And eventually, he's like, "Hey, do you want that contact?" I'm like, "Yes, please give me the contact." So he gives me the contact, and
Yeah.
then I speak to the person, the BDM, at the commercial, and then they're like, "Oh, you're too small," and I'm like, "Far out," and I had to then woo this BDM, like just like, what do I need to do? Here's my list of all my projects. He's like, yes, I don't own them all. I understand. I only own a small fraction of them, but this is my experience level. And trust me, if you back me, I'm going to be doing a lot more. I know how to create value. And eventually she's like, I'll give you to this guy. He's like lower than me, but here you go. And that helped us get to another level. And then now we're not working with just your big four commercial. We're working with second, third tier commercial because we're now working with a broker that specifically works in build to rent type asset loans products. So do you see, like, you kind of level up? You just keep leveling up. Yeah, that's it.
So I guess from a finance side of things, like how are you? I mean, how much money are you making on these deals? Like, I guess it's hard to, because I'm looking at these deals and I'm like, you bought a site for 380,000 and now it's sold for not sold, but worth 1.38 mil each. Like, this is absurd. This is absurd money that you're making just by spending, how long did that project take? A year and a half, 2 years? Not even.
Not even. I think it was max 2 years, and that's me managing it remotely and really being the dumbest person on the team. Because when you have enough buffer, you can like, it's okay, like you have breathing space. If you're buying it at market or whatever, then yeah, of course, a month's delay is a lot of money that you're losing in holding costs. So we purchased one beginning of this year. Sorry, I purchased it last year. It was my first direct to vendor. It's my
Oh,
no, actually, no.
how would
It's my second favorite deal from last year, right? Direct to vendor. We settled when I got back from Japan, beginning of the year. We settled on it, and we've just given that to the banks. And it's a first tier bank, and they're like, we don't need any more money because we bought it so below market. We bought a 4-lot subdivision in Metro Brisbane for less than $1 million. That's unheard of, right? Like, I don't know.
wow.
You guys know what the
Well,
prices are. But
it's depending on which side of Melbourne you're buying it in. I mean, if you're buying in Western Melbourne, like he was talking
No.
about the eastern pocket. Yeah, I mean, or you bought the rooming house for that, did you?
Oh no, I
Or
bought the site. So it's a
okay.
4-lot subdivision in Brisbane,
Yeah.
and that
Brisbane,
you could
not Melbourne.
subdivide. Yeah, not Melbourne.
You
Sorry.
said
But
Melbourne.
but the thing is, it was an ugly duckling. And what I love about this deal, this is my first. Like, you always remember your first, right? Your first off the direct to vendor. This is a busy road, and I was stuck in traffic, and I saw these guys cutting down trees, and I thought, you know what? They're cutting trees for this shitty house. It's a bomb. Like, obviously they're gonna sell. Like, 50%, 80%, whatever. Parked my car, crossed the road, and I just had a conversation with a tree lopper, and he says, yeah, they're preparing to sell. I'm like, can you pass on a message? And that was Like
Wow.
that was it.
How crazy. Yeah, it's just like, but you were sort of, you had your eyes open. It's like when you buy yourself a red car, like all of a sudden you start seeing red cars. You're in that space. You're sort of interested in doing it. You didn't, and said,
Yes.
hey, look, I'm seeing that there's something that's happening here. This could be an absolute banger of a site. I'll just go and ask the damn question. And worst thing they do is say no. And
Yes.
the interesting thing that I wanted to sort of rewind for people watching this, because there's just so much wisdom you've dropped. But one of the things you said is that conversation with that connection that you had, who you had to sort of speak to them for 3 or 6 months. And I'm not saying you were actually genuine about it. You weren't just like, oh, look, give me the contact. You just actually were genuinely interested in what the person was doing. So, and eventually at some stage, it came around. So if people want to if you want to go far, just sort of figure out the sort of, get yourself into these kind of conversations and just keep having them. Eventually you'll figure out, okay, that door will open. And then you're like, okay, cool.
There's a tip, right, for building relationships. It's going to blow your mind, right?
Oh, geez.
Give value before you ask. That's it. Yeah. Give value before you ask. Because if someone has something that is of value, they're probably getting asked all the time, right? So you're just going to get ignored. Just give value. You'll be surprised, because at the end of the day, property is a people business, right? So it's one of my cornerstones for why I'm where I am. I give value. I show gratitude. I thank everybody. Today, I just bought a $300 spa voucher for the wife of a real estate agent that sold me a property. Just a thank you. Yes, they're getting paid by their comms, but that's not what it's about. Because the next time this guy has another deal, who's he going to think of? He's going to think of me, right? He's going to think of me. So it's the biggest ROI, it's just basic, be a human, right? That's it.
Yeah, I suppose be genuine about it as well. If you call up the next day and saying, oh, hey, look, you got any more deals? They're like, well, I mean, maybe there's a little bit of, not malice, but a little bit of, I suppose, deliberate intent. Whereas, of course, call him up in a couple of weeks or call him or her and say, oh, look, I love that site. The site's going really well. What do you got coming up? Like, but
Just be a person. Yeah. 100%.
So if I'm an investor and I'm thinking about becoming a property developer, like, how can you persuade me to do this? Because I work a 9 to 5, like I earn good money, right? Like I earn 150 grand a year. I'm the product manager of a tech software company. Like, why the hell should I do this developing thing? But I'm really interested in it. I really love the idea of it. I'm really good at finding deals. What do you say to someone like that that's on the fence? They got those golden handcuffs locked around tightly. How do you? It's not your job to convince them, but like, how do you help?
Can I answer that one, Joe? But
no.
and I'll answer it because I can see Michael's. It's percolating. Where in my head, like, it's very clear. It's like, which path do you want to take? There's two. It's red pill, blue pill. If you take I don't know which option is which, but red pill, I think, is the one where you just stay the same path. And it's like, okay, great. What does that path look like in 5 or 10 years? If you take the blue pill, and it's okay, great. Yeah, it's going to be bloody. It's going to suck. You're going to have not a lot of sleep. It's going to be really hard. You're going to get rejected. But in 3 years' time, you might land that first multi-million-dollar deal. And then you'll start to say, okay, great. Was that worth it at the time? So you have an option. It doesn't matter which path you take. How do you want your life to look like? That's the way I would convince anybody, and not convince, but give them the option, and then they choose. Over to you, Michael. What are your thoughts?
No, what you said, I'm good with that. But yeah, I don't think anyone should be convinced. If you need to be convinced, it's going to be a slog. It's going to be a slog. If you have to convince yourself, you have to link it to something that you're actually passionate about. But if you need to be convinced to get into property, then maybe you're not interested in property. And there's many other ways to make money, right? It's your personal choice. But for me, it's a very clear sign when you see how much someone gets done in a certain period of time. Like I like property. I enjoy talking about it. After, if I can't sleep, I will, I go to meetups, Ricky's meetup, to talk about property. Like it's just, it's what I enjoy. So if you don't like it, then
I do love that Ricky. I'm not a big meetup guy. I don't go to as many. I haven't been to Ricky's, but
come on, Joe, come to the next one, please.
I do think I need to, because I'm getting a lot of FOMO. I see all these amazing events that Ricky runs, and there's a lot of smart people there. It's incredible.
Probably going in November, by the way.
But that's the way you learn and grow, right? Like, you meet people that are doing things, you're like, oh my God, like this whole, like, just going back through your story, you started doing this whole unpaid rates thing, right? I would never have heard of unpaid rates in 2015, 16. And then there's a new thing called granny flats, and then there's a new thing called rooming houses. And the only way that you can do that is to reach out to people and learn and grow. Yeah, it's incredible. How many hours a week do you work? How many hours are you working at this? Not so much the fun stuff, not so much the fun stuff of hanging out with Ricky and, but like, how many actual hours do you work on these deals?
A lot. I'm a workaholic. But that's because I do what I enjoy. And again, I tie it to goals that I have, certain lifestyle goals. I want to go overseas for months at a time. I want to build a portfolio that I can hand over to my son. So I don't count the hours. If you need to count the hours, then it just makes things harder, So at first you might have to push yourself, go, hey, I got to spend at least 5 hours a week or 10 hours a week, whatever that looks like to you. But then, as I said before, over time, it gets easier. It's not always a slog, and it becomes kind of fun. Yeah. So right now, if you ask me that question, I don't have a number. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just the challenge is, like, there's $100,000. I'll go pick that up because it's just there. It's just sat there doing its thing, and I could easily snatch it and grab it. Yeah, incredible. Yeah, this has been an awesome session. And
gotta run the second ad, Joe.
And I want to ask some of these questions. I want to see. There's a whole bunch of questions that have popped up. Jump your questions in there, and then we will come back and answer them.
Oh, Jeff, I wish there was 3 investing books that covered everything property.
Oh, Joe, there is. Steve has 3 books now.
That I do, guys. I've got 3 books now. You probably don't even have to follow this group anymore. Just kidding. You want to keep seeing and hearing from me, of course, so stay involved. But in all seriousness, if you want to get the full picture of investing, residential, commercial, and development, these 3 books have you covered for the fundamentals. For OzProp members, here's the best part. I'm giving these books to you for free. Just cover the postage and I'll send them right to your door. Go to policyproperty.com or click the link below and get your copies today. You can also get all my spreadsheets, checklists, and resources free on my website. Happy reading, gang.
Yeah. I like that. I like what Ricky said. He said, we need a sequel. This 90-minute session was just getting to know the person. We also want to know the deals. I was thinking that. I was like, what is your favorite deal? But maybe you'll have to subscribe and stay tuned, because I think what would people want to see? Because I want to do it as a clickbaity title, not clickbaity, but something that says how to make $1 million from a deal or something like that. Because then that way, the process, I know you cringed a little bit of that, Michael, but this is the information that hopefully we can inspire the next generation. I mean, we're only 30, whatever, mid-30s, mid to late 30s. So we're not that old, but I want to be able to inspire that next person who's in their early 20s and just thinking, well, crap, is property for me? It's too expensive. I can't afford $1 million. So I think that would serve the purpose of what it is. But Joe, go on.
I mean, I want to hit some answers. Questions that people have. There was a couple that came up. Okay, enough fluff.
Give us that aspiring devs can look at tomorrow with some prospect for success. That's from Ricky, by the way.
Oh, is it from Ricky? All right. Because it's from Ricky, I'll answer it. All right, we've got that financial advice thing, right? Like that disclaimer.
Yeah,
So I'm not going to get
done.
sued for
Just
giving
start,
advice. Okay, cool. So this is just my opinion, right? But if someone wants to get into development, there's a certain strategy that I'm a big fan of. I don't do them because, well, I've done a few, but they're just, we're just kind of at a different level. Yeah, at a different level now. But if I was starting the journey, oh my God, this is amazing. So something I remember you talk about, Joe, at the Sydney,
Plus
event that
property
you had.
insights. Yep.
Yes, was how if you have stacked strategies, right, like ways to make money, and the more you have, then obviously the deal is potentially more profitable, right?
Mm.
So one strategy that I have done in Southeast Queensland, I'm not going to give you specific locations, but in Southeast Queensland, is oh shit, am I going to get in trouble for saying this?
Maybe. But that's why it's
Okay.
live.
So there's a certain strategy that I've done where you have a house, right? You got a house,
Yep.
your house, wait, your
Squares.
house,
Yep.
and you renovate the house, right? Obviously, there's one potential uplift, right?
Yep.
But also, you can rent the house and you can build another house at the back. So basically, a granny flat, cool, doing development, awesome.
Yep.
So that's two potential uplifts. Then the third uplift, that's why this is a cracker for a first aspiring developer, is that you can strata subdivide it. Not torrents, but you can strata subdivide it. And then you can sell them off individually. And this is nothing mind blowing, but the numbers will blow your mind, right? And I'm not saying this is the result everyone's going to have, but I'll give you an example. Okay, I bought one. Which one?
In Logan.
I'm not going to say, but basically we bought a property.
Nailed
we bought
it.
it for. we bought it for.
I don't know. I was just throwing words out.
We bought it for $850, right?
Wow. Okay.
And we're renting for $650, right? And then we strata subdivide, and then we sold the front house for what we paid for it, $850.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah, there you go.
And then the real one, and look, the build cost us like, let's just say $350, right?
Yeah, I was going to say
Including
$350.
cost, $350. And then we sold that real one for $950.
Wow. Okay. So you're talking. So I mean, yeah, there's some costs in there and all that. So you're probably talking the best part of close to $500,000, just under.
That's an absurd deal. That is ridiculous.
But
half a mil.
But the great thing is that it's something that a entry person could buy into. Like, I shouldn't say that. I don't want to make assumptions, but I'm just saying that you're buying something that's generating income. So it's not like you're losing income. Usually with development, you lose income. You knock the house down, shit, you're stuffed, right? You're still generating rent. Right. I'll give you another one. Same strategy. I bought it for $930. We built a house at the back for, let's just say $350. We're getting rental of about $1,000. No, we're getting $1,000. We're getting $1,000 from the front house because it was a 2-story house, right? And then we built a house at the back. We sold the front house for $930 or something, whatever we paid, maybe $950 even. And then we sold the back one for $830,000, right? And it cost us $350 as well. And this is a strategy, and this is again, you don't know this. Like, no one even, when I found this strategy, I didn't even know about it. It wasn't even spoken about in any of the courses. Like, it's not a new concept, but no one in the networks, in any of the Facebook groups, no one even mentioned it. This is like a sleepy place. But then I find out that there's a guy who's done over 100 of them. And, so I'm talking to him.
Oh, not Michael Shah, is it? Or he's the mayor. He's the king of Logan, I hear.
No, I don't know who that is. But
Michael, goodness me, jeez, we have to introduce you. He's property royalty, but awesome.
Oh, is it? Oh, awesome.
Oh, wow.
So I'm talking to this guy, and how I kind of got there was I asked the question. So I was looking at the site, and I spoke to the agent, and the agent's like, "Oh yeah, you can do 4." I'm like, "Okay, cool." I'm like, "So what would you do?" And I always have these key follow-up questions. And he's like, "Oh, you're asking me? What would I do?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm asking you, what would you do? What would you do if you purchased this property?" He goes, "I would just put a house at the back." I'm like, "What? that's not really maximizing. And he goes, I'm like, why? He goes, because you know, blah 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 blah. It'll be easier. Da, da, da. You don't have to spend 2-3 years on this project, and you'll be generating income while you're doing it, and you could sell it for this much. I'm like, bullshit. You can't sell it for that much. And he gave me a freaking list, right? And I got really excited. I was like, no way. I was checking the RP data. I was like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. It just kept happening. And
Same
then
name coming up.
well, not the name, but like he gave me the addresses of properties that he's done. And then I was like, okay. So I after I confirmed it, I was like, I'm catching a flight to come see you tomorrow, you know, like the next day, like that morning. I caught the 6 o'clock flight, flew, and I wanted to meet this guy in person just to see if he's legit, right? And because it's a bit harder to lie when you're in person, obviously. And yeah, he was legit. And yeah, we've done a few of those projects. Look, they're great, but there are some things wrong with them. But for a beginner person to get into development, you know.
So we're talking about a granny flat build that ticks all the boxes for an established dwelling build, and you know it's got all the same rules and regulate. Like it's got everything that's there, and then you just strata subdivide it, and it's done.
Well, it's a house,
which you can't do in New South Wales. Yeah, which you can't do in New South Wales. Yeah.
Apparently, because there was a post a day or so about this, and I was like, no, you can't do it in New South Wales. And then he said, no, there are ways you can. So I'm like, oh, that's interesting about that.
Wow.
So
possibly, yeah.
I mean, there'd be, I suppose, specific council requirements you could fulfill that if you tick that. I mean, of course, I wouldn't guarantee, because I was like, oh, you can't sell a granny separately. But what I wanted to say, Michael, the thing I love about that is, yes, you talked about selling both. But let's just imagine, let's play this out, because I was getting excited about the equity release from that. I was like, let's just say you sell one and you kind of then have 300K debt on the second one that's worth about 750, whatever, because it might not get valued at 800, 900. They might be a little bit conservative. Let's just say it gets even valued at 700. Then you're at a below 50% LVR that's renting at, what is the second one renting at about $600, $700, $800 a week roughly? Or
yes, about 7 to 8.
Yeah, exactly. So then your yield on that is just almost ridiculous. And if you keep in the new one, you've got the depreciation and all that. Not that we do it for depreciation
and no GST on the existing. If you sell the existing one, there's no GST. But then if you sell the new one, then you have a GST. Yeah. So there's so many ways to kind of
And then that way, that if somebody is stuck at 2 or 3 properties and it's like, oh, I either go and they can't go into trust or whatever it is, then there's some options that you can really sort of open. If you've got equity that can release and go down that path, there's so many different ways you could play this strategy. But yeah, can be a powerful one. Probably a lot harder to find now, I imagine. Now that we've spoken about it a little bit, but yeah. We shouldn't have spoken about it, Joe. Bloody hell.
Yeah, I know. Right. If we talk about it, then it just becomes a dud. You know, that's what happens because the prices just go up like crazy. But you know, I think there's enough clues, even though Joe kind of ruined a little bit of it, for people to go and investigate, because you can't tell people. You know, if they need to go through the motions, then they're like involved, they're invested. You know, because if you just tell people, be like, oh, that's interesting, and that's it. It just goes in one ear, goes out the other. But for certain people, they're like, oh, you know, like, guys, we've just changed somebody's life.
People were doing that in this location and around that 2022, 2023, but they were sort of starting to cotton on, but I don't think they were realizing it. They were just doing it and then doing it, and they're like, oh, okay, cool. But they didn't realize.
No, they're not strata subdividing them. No, they're just putting a granny flat on there. Like how many granny flat deals have you seen in Logan where people just pop a granny on and then they sell the asset? They buy the front house for 500, 600,000, and they put a $300,000 granny on it, and then they sell it for 950 or something. You could literally buy that asset and then strata subdivide it. Like that's the ultimate. Then you're not even building. You don't have to waste time with building.
Yeah, I want to do one of these now. Let's not say too loud.
Yeah,
you said about creating competition for yourself. Bloody hell, just creating. And Fiona's asked this question. Thanks for coming along to Oz Property Insights. We probably my insights. So Victoria's only just opened up the whole granny flat thing around a year ago. I believe it was December 2023 they started opening up. So there may be. Oh no, but yeah, okay, year and a half, whatever it is. Yeah,
they got this new Vic Smart thing. What are your thoughts on this new Vic? Not new Vic Smart thing, but the 1 into 2 subdivision 10-day planning?
I don't
like
play in Victoria, so
Okay.
I don't want to pretend that I know what's going on because there's only so much capacity I have. I just stick to what's actually going to make me money. If it doesn't, then who cares? It's not relevant to me. But I do know some of friends who are developers who are like very excited by it. I don't know. Good for them.
So essentially, they've got a new way of like a new planning process. Like with state takes over, and you can go through this thing called VicSmart, and it'll allow a subdivision or like small scale subdivision infill location to be done through the platform
How long?
in 10 days.
10 days?
10 days.
Okay, so
Good luck.
Brisbane has a similar planning
Thing.
process. There's different tiers, which is something that New South Wales doesn't have. So they have Brisbane City Council, by the way. You've got your impact, and then you've got code self-assessable or code accessible, and then you've got something called Risk Smart. So my mind-blowing like experience was the fact that we got a subdivision approved. I think the fastest we've ever got one was 2 weeks, 14 days. And
Wow.
that to me, coming from Sydney, blew my mind. I did a DA in City of Sydney recently for my PPOR kind of deal. I don't live there yet, I'm renting. But we didn't hear from the bloody planner for like 4 months. They don't even acknowledge that they've received your DA, like nothing.
That would drive me crazy. I would be calling
Killer.
them for 2 weeks. I'll be like, what's going on? Like, where are we up to?
Where
Like,
is it?
This is the crazy thing. I was labeled as hassling them. So I started contacting them after the 4-month period. And I was like, oh, well, what's going on? Did they get lost? Like, shit, we didn't even get a receipt. And they're like, oh, like it's with attitude. So look, I live in Sydney, but it's hard. It's hard. Like for my personality anyway, maybe someone else like, oh, it's no big deal, but I take it personal, It's like, stuff you. Go somewhere else. Yeah.
okay, let's I like this question. Amazing session. We'll have to do a round 2 at some stage. What key things would you not do again? Why didn't you do JV or partner deals instead of solo? Why didn't you do joint venture partner deals instead of solo? I don't know if that last bit makes sense. Does that make sense to you? It's kind of the same
what are the
thing.
key things that you? Let's go a two-faced question. What key things would you not do again? Like if you're starting out, Michael Lin 10 years ago, 8 years ago, what would you not do again? And then maybe we'll talk about joint ventures.
Okay, I don't regret any of my deals because they've gotten me to where I am, right? So I don't think people should be looking at it from that perspective. There's no such thing as a bad thing as long as it doesn't kill you. If it hurts you, it's, like you lose a finger, you lose a hand, that's fine. If you lose your bloody arm, then that's a different story, right? Because you always get something out of it, no matter what. Just try to lose small. In terms of key learnings, one of them would be that do something scalable. That's just more maybe my own personality, but it has to be something that's got legs. You don't want to learn everything about a strategy. Like we're talking, like I said, my first rooming deal, it took me 6 months before I kind of got my head around everything, right? It needs to be something that's scalable, right? And you need to know where you are in the cycle of the market. Right now, rooming is hot, but there was a period where, we couldn't get funding, like no one even knew about it, like it was a completely different time, just a couple of years later. So it has to be something that's scalable. And also don't take advice from someone. Sorry, that's not really the question, but I'll say it anyway. Don't take advice from someone who hasn't done what you want to do. It's really important because it's really easy to fall into that trap because of the well intentions, but who knows what their circumstance was. Maybe they just bought it 20 years ago. That doesn't mean they're really good at investing. They just happened to buy it 20 years ago. That was it. That's as sophisticated as they were. In terms of joint venture, I don't really do them. I do them with family and friends, but because again, the personality, it's really, really critical because if you have a bad experience, I've seen this where people have made money and then, if you ask them, would they work together again? They say no. Right?
Yeah.
So what does that tell you? And they made a lot of money, but you still say no. And I've had clients, right, that I thought I knew and I wouldn't work with them again. And, when they ask me, hey, let's go off our next one, I've told them like, oh, sorry, I'm at capacity, in a nice way, in a polite way. But, you have to be selfish.
You don't know what somebody's like until you've got money on the line with them. That's when the true colors start to come out largely.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's not worth, I'm thin skinned, if I don't like you, I don't like you. It's not worth it.
The way I like to think about it is play long-term games with long-term people, and that's just how you have to think about it. If you can't deal with that person for 20 minutes, yeah, it's probably not going to be the right. It's probably not going to be the right fit. And actually, it's the same with the professionals as well. Actually, like I have an incredible town planner, and she is amazing. And I just call her up and I annoy the shit out of her, and I ask all the stupid questions. And she just and she's so friendly and so nice, and just deals with it because I'm so friendly and nice to her, and we get along really well. But if she didn't like me, she would have just, fobbed me off ages ago. And same with any other situation. So I do think that, like, one of the things
probably
is,
also make the money, Joe.
but dude, I got the invoice. It was $1,600, and I was like, "Is that just for the advice or all the other work that you did for me?" No, it's for all the work I've ever done for you. I'm like, "Oh Jesus, you've undercharged me." But
can I?
Yeah,
sorry.
Jump in.
Can I share one more really key thing, just in case we don't do another session anyway? Yeah,
we will.
Is that because I know we're over time, but MVP, when you mention your town planner, MVP your team, right?
I think most valuable player or minimum valuable, most minimum viable product. Which one is it?
Minimum viable product, right?
Okay.
So test. So if you're engaging a new contractor for whatever reason, test them with something small. Because if they're okay or mediocre, they probably can hide it. But if they're shit, even on a small job, they're going to show, right? Because, it's going to be pretty consistent. So you're really just trying to identify shit. If it doesn't stink, then it's like, oh, well, give them the benefit of the doubt, but test small. So I did a renovation, with someone that we all know. And I don't know if she wants me to name her name. But yeah, you know who I'm talking about, Joe. And yeah, I had to test. I tested a whole bunch of people, and when I asked them, I gave them the brief, which was, can you do a subdivision for under $40,000, right? And everyone just came back to me and said, oh, 100. And there's somebody like, I could do it. I'll give it a go. I don't want to give it a go. Like, bloody hell, that's my money. But then she came along and said, I can do it, and I've done regional deals. I've done it before, and I've done regional deals, and it made me go, hey, maybe. But still, I still don't know. She could just be saying that. So
pretty confident though.
Yeah, she's confident, but that doesn't mean it's for sure, right? So she gave me, she's like, well, instead of engaging her off the bat, just roll the dice. No, she said that she would do a renovation plan for me. So I don't know, it costs a couple $1,000s. I'm like, man, if she's crap, if this renovation plan sucks, then I just lost a couple $1,000s rather than losing tens of thousands of dollars. So it's okay to lose, but lose small. And I think that if you can ingrain that into your process as a developer, as a business owner, however you want to frame it, it makes a huge difference because you can act faster. So I'm entering a new area, a new strategy. I would test multiple town planners. For example, I would engage 4 to 5, and each one, I got one charging me $500, and I think the guy spoke to me like 15 minutes. I don't know what the hourly rate for that is, but I tested him. I'm okay to lose $500 because potentially I could lose tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands if this is not the right guy. So just MVP. That's how I'm able to identify the right people to work with, because I'm not afraid to lose that initial money.
It's like the Warren Buffett kind of rule number 1, don't lose money. Rule number 2, see rule number 1, because it's like, okay, great. And what he doesn't, he's not literal there, but he's saying, okay, make sure that you're sort of dotting your I's and crossing your T's as much as you can. And you're doing that by making sure you've got, you're sort of not spending hundreds of thousands of dollars outlaid on this team or this project or whatever it is. You're testing before you go too deep.
Yeah. Never go all in. Yeah.
Oh, I go in a lot sometimes and poke okay, guys. Look, if you've gotten value from this, I think this has been an amazing session. Drop us a 5-star on Spotify, team, because this helps us. This will get Michael back for round 2. Might even get Louis Christopher back on. So make sure you do that, team. Share this with everyone as well. So, and Joe, finish us up, mate. Where are we going?
Well, Mike, I was going to say, how do people get a bit more of you in their life? I think it's actually just attending Ricky's events. So
yeah, no, really, people ask to have like a chat. Go to the event. I'll talk to you at the event. If you message me, I might respond, but most likely I'm busy. But if you go to that when I'm like got a beer in my hand and everything, then yeah, go. I mean, people are not going to these events. It blows my mind. Like, why wouldn't you go? This is where people who have done what you want to do hang out. That's the cheapest money ever. It'll cost you like $20 in beers. Nothing.
Yeah.
It's where you can learn. And you also have a Facebook group or page. What is this?
It's just a page. I just share like what I'm doing. Hey, I'm on my site, blah, blah, blah. That's all it is. I just share. It's not a group.
Okay. We'll scan that little coupon code. Thank you so much, Michael, for taking the time to share this knowledge. I love the passion that you've got. And I guess for me, it's just kind of makes me realize what is out there and what you can actually achieve if you put the effort in, if you put the time in, put the energy in. And it's like, why do I work so hard in my job? Why do I put so much effort in? I'm earning, I earn $110,000. I earn $150,000. It's like, why am I putting so much effort into that? Why do I show up and see these dickheads that I hate a lot? And why don't I just spend a little bit of time getting educated, thinking a little bit higher level and making action and taking action and creating value? So that might not be the right politically correct thing to say, but you can really achieve quite a lot with property. So thank you very much
for any endeavor. I'd also just say, like, try not to compare your or Michael's sort of middle or end to your beginning, because he started with an 18.5 grand deal. So I just want to go full circle on that and say, whether it's a granny fat deal that you have to do that, or a small subdivision, that's the momentum you need to then start to get into the bigger projects and the MVP that Michael spoke about. So thanks very much, man. Appreciate it.
Let's go buy a property, guys. Thanks, mate.